Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Landon with LMR.com. In this video, we're gonna be checking out the third brake light lens from 50 Resto for the 1986 to 1993 LX Coupes. Like y'all hear me say in other videos, probably gonna sound like a broken record. Like many other parts, the third brake light lens is one of those that goes missing, they're damaged, they're cracked, or because of the area, they become faded. And like those other parts, you know, it's time to replace them so you can get the car back to its glory days. And that's what we have here with the 50 Resto third brake light lens. So taking a closer look at it, this is a reproduction of the original in that it has factory dimensions and tolerances. It has the correct fluting, so it's gonna traject the light properly from the two third brake light bulbs. It's constructed from acrylic in the correct shade of red. It's a great Resto part, and I like to call these feel-good parts. And what I mean by that is whenever you get finished with the installation, you kind of take a step back, you're admiring your work, and you kind of get that overwhelming sense of accomplishment. For those of you watching, you probably know what I'm talking about after you finish up an installation of anything really, but to me, especially restoration parts, those really, they kind of just tickle my twine for lack of a better word. But some other things you want to keep in mind when you go to install your third brake light lens is prepping and painting your third brake light assembly. We're not going to do that today because this particular car here, the 1988 Coupe that we refer to as Dragula. This car kind of recently went through some pretty good transformation work, and the interior was one of those areas that was addressed. So that third brake light assembly has been prepped and painted. I'm going to provide a few videos down in the description where we paint other 50 Resto interior parts. You can take that same process and apply it to the third brake light assembly. If you're not gonna prep and paint, well then this is really easy. I would just probably wipe it down and clean off the dirt, dust, and debris. That way you have a nice finished piece. I did forget to mention, when you do paint this, if the other components in the back are faded, think logically here, it's not gonna match. So, you know, you'll have to address your package tray, you'll probably have to address your rear upholstery, and then, you know, you may have to prep and paint your interior rear quarter panel. So I think I've covered everything. It's a pretty easy installation, but because of where it's located, you know, you gotta kind of worm your way in the back seat there. You gotta kind of lean underneath the rear glass. It's kind of awkward, but it's easy. So another thing you'll notice whenever we work on this car is that this particular third brake light assembly does not have the light housing. We did have one from another car here in the warehouse that did have the light housing. We kind of show them side by side. That way you can see what yours is supposed to have. So if you're watching this and you see this third brake light assembly, you're thinking you're missing something, you're not. This third brake light assembly is the one that's missing the light housing. Enough of me yapping. We'll get over here to Dragula and get rolling with the install. To get started, move the seats all the way up and lean them forward. Doing this will allow more working room in the back seat. If the small screw covers are in place, remove them from the third brake light assembly with the small plastic pry tool. In typical Fox body fashion, the ones in this car are missing. Next, you want to remove the two retaining screws. I started out with a long Phillips head screwdriver, but that didn't work very well, so I ended up switching to a short Phillips head screwdriver, and that's what I recommend you do as well. Lift up on the assembly and rotate both of the bulb sockets counterclockwise to remove them. The third brake light assembly can now be removed from the car. On a workbench, flip the assembly over and locate the tab securing the lens. There's a small gap between the light housing and the plastic assembly. Use a thin plastic pry tool and depress either tab. When you do this, more than likely the lens will just fall out. If you're not going to prep and paint the assembly, give it a once-over with a soft bristle brush, a microfiber towel, and some dedicated interior cleaner. Go ahead and position the new lens into place and fully seat it. Resituate the assembly back into the car and reinstall the bulb sockets. Because of the tight working area, you may find it easier to reinstall the bulb sockets from within the trunk. Go ahead and reinstall the screws with your short screwdriver and the screw covers. After that, you're good to go. All right, people, so wrapping things up here. The third brake light lens from 50 Resto, like I said, definitely one of those feel-good parts. We got it installed into the 1988 Coupe here, and the one we took out, it was busted. You know, it was faded, almost had a reddish orange hue to it. It was cracked down the center and repaired with, I don't know what it was repaired with, some goop or silly epoxy or something or another, but definitely a good transformation for this car, especially with the amount of work that was done on it. Paint, interior, engine, wheels, brakes. Again, just another one of those little pieces that help finish off and tie together all the other work that you've done on the car. So as always, if y'all find value in what we do, subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn on notifications, and then until we see you in the next one, for all things Fox Body Mustang, keep it right here with the real enthusiasts, LMR.com.